the key question is right now, how can we leverage information that is available now for our own research or for the development of tooling, as I referred to earlier? Similar to many academic studies, applying a content analysis would really serve as a valuable tool for unraveling new information that is yet to be explored by previous researchers. By subjecting these standards to systematic analysis, researchers can gain insights into the extent and quality of climate-related reporting. So this approach really involves grouping disclosure standards into broader categories based on common themes or content areas, streamlining data collection, analysis, benchmarking, and thus facilitating future research. By employing such categorization, researchers can efficiently identify patterns, trends, and gaps in climate-related disclosure practices, especially across different industries or geographical regions, really enabling a more targeted and comprehensive investigation for research purposes. So ultimately, this could empower us to generate valuable knowledge that would prove useful for the development of, for example, a remuneration assessment tool. Now, we need to look at what sets a good foundation upon which to form this high level of categorization. Based on the premise that all three organizations are highly aligned with the TCFD framework and similar to recent academic studies, utilizing this widely accepted TCFD framework provides a really strong foundation for us to use in establishing a set of standard or common climate-related disclosure categories. In particular, it's really of interest to focus on the metrics and targets, as these should inform and be informed by the organization's governance, strategy, and risk management processes. Metrics and targets really create a feedback loop over time in the same way that other KPIs and key risk indicators are used to inform business management processes. And as a result, these metrics and targets provide the connective tissue between the other TCFD recommendations and an organization's disclosure of its climate-related plans, performance, and position. Metrics and targets have 6 fundamental principles that are particularly important for climate-related metrics, in that they are decision useful, understandable, verifiable, objective, importantly trackable over time, and also aligned to the other 3 TCFD pillars. And this table provides a summary of the proposed types of information organizations should disclose and has noted the most common units of measure. Considering the fact that materiality is not a static concept, it is the TCFD's view that these cross-industry climate-related metrics, particularly GHG emissions, are key to understanding climate-related risks and opportunities, both by users assessing individual companies, those aggregating risks across companies within their investing, lending, or underwriting portfolio, as well as by regulators looking to assess systemic risk. And as discussed previously, there are multiple ways to measure and disclose metrics and targets, and different jurisdictions or industries may follow different best practices. For example, some organizations reporting amounts of executive remuneration impacted by climate consideration notes a percentage of the executive pay, while others discuss weighting factors or total amounts of compensation that could be impacted. The TCFD believes that these differences in units of measure help provide organizations with flexibility and do not impact comparability as long as units are clearly stated. So the cross-industry climate-related metrics not only improve comparability across companies, but are also key inputs with which to estimate your important climate-related financial impacts. So by assessing these cross-industry metrics, we can really determine, or rather assume, materiality topics that matter most in terms of its relevance and impact. This figure that you can see here illustrates how cross-industry climate-related metrics inform estimation of climate-related financial impacts. For example, calculating your scope 1, 2, and 3 GHG emissions and carbon prices can inform the company's cost-benefit analysis of potential investments and process changes or investments, while scenario analysis for plausible future emissions pathways and implied carbon prices can allow for a range of estimates on forward-looking carbon costs. So when organizations select metrics, they should consider whether there is an associated target against which to track progress. These targets typically have a numerical value assigned, which is specific and concrete, that provides the steps needed to accomplish a goal, and are thus aligned with the intended outcomes and deadlines of larger goals. For example, an organization may set a goal to increase the proportion of their facilities upgraded against extreme heat. Climate-related targets supporting that goal may specify that 30% of facilities be upgraded by 2025 and 50% by 2030. As individuals and teams within the organizations reach their targets, the organization makes progress towards their bigger goals. Though not all metrics will require a target, all targets should be supported by appropriate metrics. So by designing a unique content analysis from the prescribed set of high-level metrics and targets, this would allow us to really mimic the approach that financial institutions use in the construction of their portfolio alignment tools. For example, financial institutions can capture a binary categorization of the number of companies with and without GHG reduction targets, for example, net zero. Others may choose to use a benchmarking divergence model, which measures forward-looking performance against normative benchmarks. For example, does it align with global goals? And this will allow us to determine tangible measures that have been taken by corporations in their climate-related target setting efforts, and allows us to form an assessment criteria to assess short-term and long-term incentive performance metrics. So the design of a content analysis using these high-level metric categorizations of climate-related standards can really significantly contribute to and align with the principles of responsible remuneration that are used to design the remuneration assessment tooling. By analyzing the categorization of climate-related disclosure standards, we can effectively assess a corporation's alignment with its stated purpose, values, and strategy. This analysis allows us to evaluate the tangible measures taken by corporations in their climate-related target setting efforts and their impact on financial and environmental performance. Additionally, the assessment of targets related to material topics helps identify the areas with the greatest potential for impact and value creation. By incorporating long-term value creation and sustainability into the remuneration plan, we can assess whether the timeframes and performance periods are aligned with the company's strategic objectives and global goals. The task requires dedicated efforts to analyze these high-level metrics, assess alignment with purpose and strategy, evaluate targets for impact, consider timeframes through the evaluation of transparent climate-related environmental disclosures. With careful planning and collaboration, we aim to develop a framework that aligns remuneration practices with corporations' purpose, values, and long-term value creation with respect to their environmental performance. Analyzing the climate-related disclosure standards within the topical environmental category is a step towards leveraging the information we need to develop an all-encompassing remuneration assessment tool that, in the end, would ideally consider all aspects of non-financial performance metrics. So in conclusion, the analysis of climate-related standards plays a vital role within the broader scope of environmental reporting, which in turn falls within the encompassing role of non-financial reporting. By diligently assessing these standards, we can effectively evaluate the long-term value creation of corporations and align it with appropriate executive remuneration assessment practices. This approach ensures that remuneration strategies do not merely focus on short-term financial gains, but rather prioritize long-term sustainability. By integrating environmental considerations into reporting and remuneration frameworks, we really can foster responsible business practices, drive positive impact, and create enduring value for both corporations and the environment. Thank you very much.